Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to The Burning Truth. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Matt Burns, the Funk Soul Brother, and just to mention once again, unfortunately, the man, the myth, the legend, Nathan Goth can't make it today. And as you probably noticed, we are a little bit late on this episode, which we do apologise for that. We did actually have some technical difficulties when trying to start the episode initially, so we do apologise for being about 15 minutes late. So if you were here on time, we do apologise, but we are live now. Now, one thing I will state to you, this is possibly going to be either the last live one that we do for this year, or potentially we might do one for next week maybe. It all depends on certain stuff, because we were a bit busy, especially with it being on the holidays, around the holidays time and everything. So I just thought to give you the heads up, just in case, if anybody doesn't know. We may have one pre-recorded. If not, we will be announcing that on our social media. Now, let's get on to the show, shall we? I'm going to be basically going into the talk of Clash of Champions, which unfortunately we didn't actually cover last week, which was the reason why we didn't have one last week is because we were actually attending a show, which was for the Academy Anniversary 2 show, which I will state was an absolute fantastic show. However, just to point out for you, we will hopefully be doing a audio review for that in the coming weeks. But as soon as that's out, you will be notified and whatnot. However, I will state, great show, loved it all, very entertaining. Which is the reason why, unfortunately, we weren't able to do another live episode. Due to time constraints, we couldn't even do a pre-recorded one, so we do apologise for that. Now, let's move on to the actual wrestling subject, shall we? Clash of Champions, which was a SmackDown pay-per-view. Straight away, I'll just cover the results very quickly, which we had Mojo Rawley defeating Zack Ryder on the pre-show. Dolph Ziggler defeating Baron Corbin and Bobby Roode for the WWE United States Championship in a triple threat, which surprised a few people. But we've got more news on Dolph Ziggler a bit later on. The Usos defeating the New Day, which was Big E and Kofi Kingston with Xavier Woods in their corner. Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin, as some might say, but I'd prefer to call him Shelton Benjamin, and Rusev and Aiden English. I will say Rusev, Aiden English, amazing pair up. I can see them potentially getting a future tag team championship on SmackDown, but then again I can see Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin getting one as well. We also had Charlotte Flair defeating Natalya in a lumberjack match, or lumberjills match, for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. The Bludgeon Brothers, which is Harper and Rowan, defeating Breezango. And Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn defeating Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura, which is a tag team match with Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan as special guest referee. If Owens and Zayn lost, they would have been fired from WWE. However, there'll be more. I'll explain a bit more. The big shocker with that one is Shane was doing everything to try and get Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defeated so we could fire them. Where a few times, Daniel Bryan got bumped into Shane during the count and whatnot, but it wasn't his fault because, Owens and Sami Zayn used the advantage of using two referees against each other. But the biggest shock of it was that when it came to the actual count, Daniel Bryan was the one who did the fast count to allow Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn beat Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura to keep their jobs. But the explanation will be covered shortly. Now, the main event was AJ Styles defeating Jinder Mahal. A lot of people expected AJ Styles to be losing against Jinder Mahal because supposedly Jinder Mahal had been announced as a two-time champion at certain special events and whatnot. However, that's not the case. AJ Styles has managed to keep the championship, and I personally think that AJ Styles will possibly be keeping that championship maybe until WrestleMania. Who knows? It could be leading to AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. Now, moving on to the next subject of this show, which we'll be covering now, WWE Raw. And I will state that we had some interesting topics to cover. I'll mention just the two that caught my interest, which was Hideo Itami debuting on Raw to save Finn Balor from the Miztourage. Now, Hideo Itami was supposedly rumored to be debuting on the on the cruiserweight division on 205. Now, the amazing thing about it, what caught my attention, was the fact that he came down, made the save for Finn Balor. So essentially, he's made his big debut on the main roster. Now, some can say, oh no, he hasn't made his official debut. Now, I think he has, because if you think about it, he was involved with somebody who's part of the main roster. Oh, correction, in that entire segment, everybody was on the main roster. So it was great him coming down, making the save for Finn Balor. And they sort of explained it like sort of when Hideo Itami was getting beat up, he came in to save the day, like against the Wyatt family and whatnot, and everybody else in the Ascension. Now it was sort of the other way around. You got Hideo Itami coming out and making the save for Finn Balor against the Miztourage, and I will state, interesting dynamic, and it showed it was great, absolutely fantastic. And one thing I will state, Hideo Itami hitting the GTS for the finish, interesting, which we're basically stating, and also might be sending a message stating this is my move potentially. But it was great to see him, and then with him jumping over, he's now officially on 205. It was like a nice little, almost like a bit of a sort of sub bite, a bit of a sneak peek in what it can do, and it's quite interesting. But moving on to what happened at the end of the show. Now, end of the show involved I believe, Absolution, which was winning main event, which was absolutely fantastic, with Paige, everybody involved and whatnot. Now, we had Nia Jax come down to try and take down Absolution, showed her dominance over it and everything, but it was quite interesting on how she was handling three of them, two of them quite a bit, but then eventually the numbers game, they sort of got advantage. But then all of a sudden, when all the women were brawling, fighting, blah, 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 they were fighting, and all of a sudden Stephanie McMahon comes down. Now, as you'll probably notice, a lot of the female wrestlers were looked a bit dumbfounded. That's because supposedly this segment was supposedly told to them be after the show, not while they were in the ring on the main show, on the cameras. Now, what was so interesting is supposedly they were informed that the brawl was going to be the end of the show, maybe get split apart, and that would be the wrap up. That wasn't the case. Now, when Stephanie came down, sort of come down, sort of, broke it up, it sort of, what was interesting is we noticed that a lot of people sort of dropped their characters and everything. Stephanie's making a big announcements. We've had our first Women's of Money in the Bank, first winnings, Hell in a Cell and everything, in Iron Man matches, and it was absolutely fantastic, and I will state, making big announcements. But the announcement that she made was that effectively at the Royal Rumble, that there was going to be a second Royal Rumble, which is the Women's Royal Rumble. Now, you saw everybody in adulation, quite happy, but the characters were dropped, which I thought was a bit unusual that they dropped characters so easy. Did they think it was off the camera, off the air? Who knows? But it's great news for women wrestling, because straight away there, whoever, what was announced after the show, potentially a bit later on, was the fact that whoever wins the Women's Royal Rumble will get a women's championship match at WrestleMania. Now, I'm not saying it could lead to a women's main event in WrestleMania. Not stating that, and I'm not against it. But the thing is, they've just announced it as there will be a championship match up for grabs at WrestleMania from the Women's Royal Rumble. Now, who knows who's going to be in this Royal Rumble? There's going to be plenty of the current roster, plenty of the main roster actually, plenty of the NXT roster, and potentially some old WWE legends, some wrestlers of the past coming back. One of them supposedly being Trish Stratus, who's what we wanted to put her name. We could see a Kelly coming back. Could this bring back Brie Bella and everything? Who knows? Now, that's going to be interesting. Originally, supposedly, it was meant to be a 15 women's battle royale, but because so many people are coming forward, that number is most likely increased. So, who knows on that number? In fact, it could very well even compete against the men's by having 30 women. Now, straight away, there's going to be some surprise returns. Now, a lot of people are stating, 2 Rumbles is going to be a bit too much and whatnot. As much as I can say, watching Royal Rumble, 2 Royal Rumbles will be a bit draining and taxing, I still think it's fair. It's still going to be interesting. Because if they play it right, they could potentially have 1 Royal Rumble at the beginning. So straight to, which will be very, very interesting, because then whoever, if the women's championship is being defended, both women's championships being defended on the same night, they'll be sort of watching who's they're going to be competing against next, and then the number 1 contender will be watching the current champion trying to keep their belt, or whoever, or somebody winning the championship. So then that could potentially bring some new storylines, some interest, and some development. So straight away, that could be at the start of the night, and the men's Royal Rumble being at the end, or vice versa, they switch it. Who knows? But regardless of it, it'll be very, very interesting. But I will state, quite pleased for the women's division on WWE having that announced, the first ever women's Royal Rumble for WWE. Moving on to the next topic, which was Dolph Ziggler on SmackDown. Now, in case anybody hasn't noticed this, recently Dolph Ziggler has been doing a bit of a trolling the crowd sort of gimmick, going against everybody, with his doing multiple entries of other wrestlers and everything, and then he was doing, even his own entrance, he completely changed it, comes out, I'm here to show the world, cuts the music. I do like the idea of the gimmick, but him winning the championship. Now, supposedly on SmackDown, he was having his chance to celebrate becoming the US champion again. Now, what was so interesting in this, he actually went through all of his accolades. The fact that he's been a multiple US champion, he has been a multiple Intercontinental champion, and the fact that he's been a world heavyweight champion as well. And the fact that to gain that, he used his Money in the Bank, which he also is another accolade to add on. He's stating, it can never be done, blah, blah, blah. You didn't think I could win this. Well, remember me for them. If there's one thing I want you to remember me by, and sort of made a statement, if there's one thing you can remember me by, he then suddenly gave something for people, did something that may have got a few people's notice. He literally placed the US Championship middle of the ring and walked out and left it. Now, the question is, has he done that to vacate the championship because his contract's up? Is he staying off the WWE television? Rumour has it that he's supposed to be staying off for a bit, but there's also another rumour that a new US Championship belt is being made and designed and whatnot. So could he be returning with that? Now, at the moment in time, a lot of people are assuming that he's quit. He is done with WWE, but there's still rumours, there's still announcements of him doing some house shows and whatnot. So he might not be done. This could be just be part of a storyline. The question is where is it going to lead to? And the thing is, as much as a lot of people can say, well, that was a bit of a stupid idea, why did you just let it in the ring? He's got your attention. He's done his job. He's sort of gained. He's got people looking at this sort of segment. He's got people wondering what is next, what's coming. He's got them eating. He's got them ready, begging, waiting for the next step. The question is how long are we going to have to wait? Only time will tell, and the only way we will know an answer for sure is if we see an announcement that Dolph Ziggler has either left or when he returns. Till then, we've got some interesting waiting to do in regards to the Dolph Ziggler scenario. Now, earlier on, I mentioned about the supposed tag match that involved the Clash of Champions that involved 2 referees. Now, Shane McMahon was in the ring on SmackDown at the start. This was before the Dolph Ziggler, but I feel as though Dolph Ziggler should have been mentioned first, and this is a bit of a bigger issue because could be a bigger storyline. Now, Shane McMahon came out and demanded that Daniel Bryan come out and make clear why he did what he did. Now, what I thought was very interesting with this dynamic is Daniel Bryan sort of say, and Shane was annoyed that he bumped into him, but then he said he was frustrated on that, and he did notice when he came back after watching, the match itself, saw that other people had pushed Bryan onto him to stop the count, break up the count and everything. So that was, he's sort of saying, why? I want to get rid of him. And then he sort of building up to the fast count. Now, when it came to the fast count, I thought it was quite interesting, Daniel Bryan's answer. You want to fire him, but he sort of turned and said, if you want to fire somebody, fire me. Fire me instead right now. I fast counted him to keep him around. They are, and then his reason behind why he did it, he didn't want, his excuse is he didn't want to see Shane McMahon become Mr. McMahon. Now, because he was stating he feels as though Shane McMahon's going off the path that they originally planned, which was everybody gets a fair trial and everything and whatnot. But in some way, you could potentially see his point. Because on recent shows, Shane McMahon has been ruling Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Now, it was quite interesting when he made that clear, and sort of Shane thought, right, okay. He sort of let bygones be bygones. I'm gonna have the night off. You're in charge of the show, and went off. Now, what was interesting is you could see that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are sort of smiling, happy. Oh, you're one of us, and Daniel Bryan saying, no, go away. I did what I did because it was right. If you don't leave, you will be fired, and it won't be by Shane, it'll be by me. So he's sort of stomping his authority there. Now, the question I've got is, are they teasing Daniel Bryan to turn heel, or are they planning for Shane McMahon to become a heel and become a Mr. McMahon sort of authority figure? Only time will tell. If anybody's got any views on it themselves, or who do they think will possibly be turning, or if either of them will be turning? If not, give us your view. Type it in the comments, or down below, either on Facebook or Spreaker. Let us know. Now, moving on from the whole Daniel Bryan explanation, we're now going to quickly move over to NXT. Now, this bit of the NXT, I could mention about the NXT tag titles going to new champions, which and whatnot. But this bit, I'm not going to be covering too much of it. I'm going to be mostly covering the WWE UK Championship, which I will state, to get some British wrestling again. What was so amazing with this, I'm about to mention, was Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate 2. I will state, amazing match, lads. Fantastic. You know you've made it when you're getting a US crowd, United States of America crowd, chanting UK, UK. Cheering for the UK wrestlers, cheering for the British wrestlers, cheering them on, watching them going back and forth, back and forth. These pair know how to work a clinic. Straight away, they've had 3 matches now. Effectively, Pete Dunne has, sort of got the final victory, supposedly, until the next time. And I will state, these pair go back and forth all the time. They work, they know each other so well, they team well together, and they fight well against each other. You want to put butts in seats? Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate. Done. Guaranteed. You put that match on. If there's a show, if there was a chance I could see that match in person myself, just think of Philip J. Farrell, Futurama. Here, take my money. Guaranteed. With Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. Them pair know how to work a clinic. And what's so interesting, it was done on NXT, which means you can actually watch that on the WWE Network for just $9.99, or your first month free if you haven't signed up for the WWE Network. And I will state, amazing deal that is. And you got matches like that, so it's almost like they're almost giving the match away. But these pair work so well together. And every time I can't wait for the next one. So effectively, even though I said it's actually, apologise, I'll strike that. It wasn't Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate 2, because number 2 was at a pay-per-view. This was actually effectively Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate 3 on WWE. So my apologies for making that slight mistake. And I will state, I can't wait for Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Can't wait for it, because them pair know how to work a match. Now, with Tyler Bate out of the way on WWE, what I do find interesting with Progress Wrestling is that Pete Dunne is still wrestling for them as well. Now, Pete Dunne has effectively demanded to face off against Joseph Connors at Progress. Now, rumour has it might even be for the WWE UK Championship, and I will state that will be a cracking match if that's if that happens and whatnot. It's going to be one that's going to be put butts in seats. Definitely one to watch. Recommend anybody going to watch that. So straight away he's getting more notches in the belt, more defences, but he's not just getting defences against small talents. He's getting them up against some top wrestlers, some top notch British wrestlers. He's even getting some from across America as well. So the UK Championship isn't just being defended by against British wrestlers, UK wrestlers. It's being defended against anybody around the world. Who knows? It could potentially become another world title being defended in multiple countries. I wouldn't say no to that, and I will state at this moment in time, Pete Dunne is a masterclass and deserving of the WWE UK Championship. But at the same time, I also think Joseph Connors would be an excellent person to win the championship at Progress. However, I do think Pete Dunne will get the win against Joseph Connors. But regardless of the results, I'll be happy either way. Now, let's move on to something a little bit... It does concern some wrestling, but it also has some non-wrestling news as well. But it involves Vince McMahon. Now, the interesting thing about this is the fact that a lot of people know that Vince has had some failures in the past. A good one to bring up would be the XFL. Now, that was one of his greatest failures, yet why is he going back to it? Because rumor has it he has recently tried to acquire 5 trademarks for the XFL. Now that's an interesting thing to do there, which straight away says, is he trying to revive it, bring it back? Who knows? He could make it even successful this time. Now the thing that I find interesting is this could be linked with the new LLC that Vince McMahon is trying to bring up as well. and start up. Now, to fund the new LLC that Vince McMahon is trying to bring up and start, which could be linked with the XFL, WWE is had to sell some WWE stock. Now, straight away, that's That's a bit of a risky game. He's selling some WWE stock to potentially put some more risk for the XFL. Now, okay, a lot of people could say he's insane, could put him in a bad position, but he hasn't overdone it and whatnot as such, to the point where he's out of control, where he could lose all control of WWE. Now, the interesting point is I will state I'll be very, very impressed if he does sort of use it for the XFL and it does hit off this time, because he's probably learned from past mistakes. And I will state one thing with Vince McMahon: he is a very, very persistent person, and will do his very, very best to get what he wants. And he tries to push for it. Now, hopefully, in this case, this does actually come off right, goes well, and sort of becomes entertaining for everybody to watch. Now, unfortunately, that is all the news I can mention in regards to that at this moment in time. So I will be putting the discussion of that on hold for the time being until more is known. Now, moving on next to another subject that not many people realise would be involved with WWE. Now, which is this person, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett has reportedly completed his stint in the WWE-sponsored rehab and whatnot. So, he's all well cleared up and everything. And I will state, the WWE-sponsored rehab program is something that once you become a WWE wrestler, it's something you will have for life, which Jeff Jarrett was a WWE wrestler, but he's now supposedly blacklisted from the WWE, but he's still got access to the WWE sponsored rehab, which I will state, for WWE still allowing that to offer to any non-WWE wrestlers who have wrestled for them in the past, is amazing. The fact that he's offered that, and the fact that they keep that open for all WWE, for all wrestlers that are involved with the WWE, is such a merit to them, and it shows that they are trying to help them out and whatnot. But it's absolutely great news if he has got himself all cleared up and everything, and who knows, we could see him getting involved more with. We don't know if he's going to be involved with TNA or Impact Wrestling, because since he checked into the rehab, it was reported that he and Impact Wrestling ended their business relationship prior to that announcement, and he was stepping away from the company for personal reasons. Now, with him being out, supposedly finished, he's got himself clean, reportedly. He could potentially go back, or he could start something else. Who knows? But all we can say is, at this moment in time, for the time being, until more news is revealed, we will have to wait until more news is revealed for us to explain. But I will say, I wouldn't mind seeing Jeff Jarrett on TV again, potentially at Impact Wrestling. However, I think it would be quite rare to see him back on WWE. Now, I'm not saying it'll never happen, because never say never, but over the reason why he's blacklisted from the WWE could be a good reason why. However, we're not going to just discuss that. If you want to discuss it, just look it up why he's possibly blacklisted from WWE. Now, moving on to the next subject, which is the 2018 WWE Hall of Fame class, which is just, there's names being thrown around and whatnot, which I will state that is quite interesting. Some of the names that have been rumoured to be thrown around, which straight away I'll just mention. We've got supposed names being thrown, which are Goldberg, Bam Bam Bigelow, Ivory, Dudley Boyz, Kid Rock for the celebrity inductee. Now, I will state Goldberg would be a good one, because he has been involved with quite a bit recently with WWE and done some interesting stuff. Bam Bam Bigelow, absolute great legend, one of the biggest, I will state, one of the first big men to come flying off the top rope. He was so agile, so great, so fun to watch, and it didn't matter if it was in WWE, if it was in WCW, or even ECW. the man knows how to work, and I will state, an absolute icon of WWE, an absolute icon of the wrestling business. Fantastic. Dudley Boys, anybody involved in tag team wrestling, know who they are. They are, technically, I would say, still to this day, the most decorated tag team in all of wrestling. They, everywhere they go, they've won the tag team championships. Very fitting, amazing workers, totally, truly deserving. Kid Rock, he's done some music. It'll be interesting to see him go into it. He's done some great music for them and everything. Even done some live music for them, and I can't complain with Kid Rock myself personally. He has done some stuff for the for music, covered to help WWE with the music side. Now, the next person I'm going to mention, I do think they are very deserving of the Hall of Fame. However, I feel as though somebody else should be taking this sort of segment or category, as some might say, is Ivory. Now, Ivory is very fitting of being in the Hall of Fame, and I'm not taking that away from it at all. She has done some amazing work, and here's the thing: she's one of the women who sort of would dress up herself. Didn't mind coming across as prudish and whatnot. Knew how to rile up a crowd. Very good. Especially loved her work in Right to Sansa. Loved it. Very fitting. Should be in the Hall of Fame. However, the reason why I stated I don't think it should be this year that she goes in. I wouldn't mind seeing in 2019. I just think as though 2018 should be the year that Chyna goes in, because she was revolutionary. Chyna was, especially with the first female Rumble coming out as well. Because do take into account the first ever woman to ever enter the WWE Royal Rumble was Chyna. She was the first one to do it. First one. She did a lot of WWE firsts. She was the first female to win a male championship. Well, I wouldn't say male championship because that's technically degrading. She was the first WWE Intercontinental women. First woman to win the Intercontinental title. Amazing work she was. She did some amazing work. Fantastic. And I will state, I feel as though they should have her in this year. But I will state, it may draw a bit of attention to it. However, I will not be disappointed if Ivory does go into it. However, I do feel that Chyna needs to go in. Definitely this year, or at the very, very least next year, 2019. You've got to get her into the WWE, because as much as someone can say, she did porn, so did Sonny. And yet she's still announced as a Hall of Famer. Sonny's done a lot of things that WWE should have kicked her out, and they haven't. Now, come on. Chyna is deserving. So either get Chyna in 2018 or 2019. But if it's Chyna this year, then it should be Ivory next year. Or if it's Ivory this year, it should be Chyna next year. That's just my input on that. I don't know if my colleague will agree with me, but he'll probably state it on an episode once when he is on it, or probably tell me while I'm off the air potentially. Now, with all that announced, I would like to just point out that last Friday, yesterday, that we actually released a interview with Hope Brooks. Now, for the reigning truth, Hope Brooks was the first ever non-actual, somebody who doesn't wrestle, somebody who isn't a valet, manager, or anything. She's a wrestling fan, but she is I will say, a world travelling model. Fantastic woman. Great attitude, and the most interesting part about it, she may not be a wrestler herself, but she has got many wrestling stories, and I will state, you'll hear some of them on the interview itself. Now, one thing I will state, with that, I feel as though she could have told us way more, more wrestling stories. So hopefully, if we ever come across her, bump into her again down the road, we'll hopefully do another interview with Hope Brooks to get some more stories from her. Because I will state, she does have some fantastic stories. All I'll say is, just watch the interview, because the first thing she mentioned was one of the stories. Funny story, in a bar, Ric Flair. Need I say any more? Now, we haven't, with that interview being aired and whatnot, we do have another interview to bring out. However, when that will be, the announcement for when that will be revealed on Facebook, and it will be getting revealed on Christmas Day. So do keep an eye out on Christmas Day to see when our last interview for not the last interview to be recorded in 2017, just the last one that will be released for 2017. Very interesting one, something I will recommend anybody to definitely check out, which will be on social, which will be getting announced on Facebook on Christmas Day, roughly about 3 o'clock UK time, afternoon. So 3 p.m. So check that out when that gets dropped out on Facebook, on our social media. Now, with that, I'm going to state that this is going to be a bit of a wrap up for this episode of, for the Burning Truth and whatnot. So right now we're going to get to where we do our normal plugs, which I'm going to be stating right now, which are, check out Team 4 Star on YouTube, Botchman Your Ear on YouTube or Dailymotion. The New Breed I will definitely recommend. It's a great band to check out. Check them out on their social media on Facebook. They are on. We recommend checking them out on Spotify. You'll hear some of their fantastic music, and we do recommend you check out their music video, which is on YouTube. Now, last time I was on the Burning Truth broadcast, I made an announcement of check out Smosh. Now, unfortunately, I actually got the wrong channel of Smosh that both me and my colleague watch. It was their second channel that I should have announced, which is Smosh Games. So we recommend to check out Smosh Games, as they do some entertaining videos, especially over the summer. Some of them involving cowboys and whatnot, sliding beers across tables, and some involving diving into pools. So I do recommend you check them out on the Smosh Games channel on YouTube. Now, another one I want to give a quick shout out to is Old Dutch Designs. That I will state, if you need any design work done, check out Old Dutch Designs on all social media platforms, especially on Facebook. I will state that the guy does some absolute fantastic work. He even did the work for the Burning Truth, the official logo that we currently use now, and even the Matt Burns logo that I've currently got released. The man certainly knows how to work. But I will state he does it for a great quality price, and he does it so quickly. The man's an artist, so I do recommend you check him out. And the last checkout I will state for everybody is to check out Changes for Healthy Minds. Do check that out. If you feel as though somebody needs any help or and whatnot, give it a check out. Just if you feel you need help, do check it out. And this is for for healthy minds and whatnot. But even if you do have a healthy mind and everything, or you see somebody in trouble, do check it out, because it might actually help you with some information that can potentially help them and get them into a healthy state of mind. Now, with that is going to be the wrap up of this broadcast episode. So, as always, we hope you stay well, stay safe, and we hope you have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. So until then, we hopefully hope you have a great time Don't get too drunk, and we will hopefully see you at the next broadcast, the next interview, or the next review. Till then, stay safe.